You are waking up, but you are not really awake. The alarm goes off, and before your eyes can even focus on the ceiling, your hand is already moving. It is muscle memory. You grab the phone, you squint at the screen, you check the notifications, a text from your boss, a news alert about the economy, a friend posting a photo of a vacation you aren't on. In less than 10 seconds, your heart rate has spiked, your cortisol is rising, and you haven't even sat up yet. You think you are just checking the time or waking up your brain, but you are actually doing something much more dangerous. You are leaking energy. You are giving away your power before you have even generated it. We need to have a serious conversation about why you feel so tired all the time. And I am not talking about physical exhaustion. I'm talking about that deep, heavy fog that sits behind your eyes, the feeling that you are dragging yourself through water. You might think you need more sleep, but the truth is, you don't need more hours in bed. You need to stop leaking the energy you already have. You are stuck in a biological cycle that we are going to call the doom loop. It is the cycle of waking up reacting to the world instead of creating it. And until you break this loop, no amount of coffee and no amount of productivity hacks will save you. Let's look at what is actually happening to your brain in those first few moments of the day. This is science, not magic. When you first wake up, your brain is in a very specific, very vulnerable state. The source material describes your mind in the morning as being like wet cement. Think about that image, wet cement. It is soft, it is malleable, and it is impressionable. Whatever lands on it in those first few minutes makes a mark that hardens and sets for the rest of the day. If the first thing that lands on that wet cement is a stressful email or a comparison to someone else's life on social media or a tragic news headline, you have just imprinted chaos into the foundation of your day. You have allowed the world to step into your mind before you have even stepped into your own life. This is why you feel like a background character in your own story. You aren't writing the script, you are reading lines that were handed to you by an algorithm or a demanding schedule. The source material calls this the problem of borrowed thoughts. This is a profound concept that we need to unpack. When you open your phone first thing in the morning, you are not thinking your own thoughts. You are thinking thoughts that were borrowed from someone else. You are borrowing the anger of a stranger on the internet. You are borrowing the stress of your workplace. You are borrowing the insecurity of a marketing campaign designed to make you feel inadequate. You are flooding your system with borrowed emotions and borrowed problems before you have even had a chance to ask yourself how you feel. Think about the biological cost of that. Your brain has just spent hours in sleep trying to reset your nervous system, trying to process the emotional data from the day before. It is trying to hand you a clean slate. And within seconds of consciousness, you shatter that slate. You shift your brain immediately from a state of rest into a state of high alert reaction. You trigger the fight or flight response before your feet touch the floor. This creates a state of system overwhelm. You interpret this as laziness. You tell yourself, I'm just so lazy, I can't get going. But you are not lazy, you are overwhelmed. Your processing power is maxed out because you loaded huge files into your operating system the moment you booted up. You are trying to run high-level tasks, like being creative, being patient with your family, or doing deep work, but your RAM is already clogged with external noise. This is the doom loop. You wake up and react. Because you react, you feel behind. Because you feel behind, you rush. Because you rush, you make mistakes and feel stressed. Because you are stressed, you drain your battery by noon. And because you are drained, you reach for cheap dopamine, sugar, scrolling, distraction, just to get through the afternoon. Then you crash into the evening, exhausted but wired, unable to truly rest, and you do it all again the next day. The most dangerous part of this loop is that it feels normal. We live in a culture that celebrates this kind of hyperconnectivity. We think that being plugged in means we are responsible. But the source material argues the exact opposite. It says that a morning that controls you creates a life you cannot control. If your morning is a reaction, your life will be a reaction. You will spend your entire day playing defense, just trying to catch up to the balls that are being thrown at you, instead of playing offense and deciding where you want to go. Let's talk about the specific mechanism of this energy leak. Imagine your energy for the day is a full glass of water. You wake up and the glass is full. This is your fuel for decision-making, for emotional regulation, for focus. Every time you check a notification, you poke a tiny hole in the bottom of that glass. Every time you rush around looking for your keys because you aren't organized, you poke another hole. Every time you let a negative thought spiral out of control, you poke another hole. By the time you actually sit down to do your work or start your real day, half your water is gone. You haven't actually done anything yet, but you are running on empty. This is why you can spend a whole day being busy, but feel like you accomplished nothing. You were busy leaking energy, not using it. You were busy reacting to stimulation without intention. The source material is very clear on this. The fastest way to drain your battery is stimulation without intention.
It's the difference between driving a car with purpose and just revving the engine in the driveway. Both burn gas, but only one gets you somewhere. We have to shatter the myth that this is about sleep. You can sleep for 10 hours, but if you wake up and immediately plug your brain into the stress matrix of the internet, you will feel exhausted. That exhaustion is emotional residue. It is the weight of unprocessed information. It is the heavy feeling of carrying the entire world's problems in your pocket. There is a concept in the text called the invisible battle between momentum and distraction. This battle happens every single morning, usually in silence. It happens in the gap between when you wake up and when you actually start your day. Momentum is fragile. It starts very small. It starts with one intentional breath, one glass of water drunk slowly, one moment of staring out the window instead of at a screen. If you protect that little spark of momentum, it grows. It turns into a fire. But distraction is aggressive. Distraction wants to kill that momentum before it even has a chance to breathe. And distraction is winning the battle for most people because they don't even know they are fighting it. They think checking their phone is a neutral act. It is not neutral. It is a hostile takeover of your attention. You might be thinking, okay, but I have responsibilities. I have to check my email. I have people who need me. And sure, you do.
But do they need you at the exact second you open your eyes? Does the world really fall apart if you take 20 minutes to boot up your own operating system before you connect to the network? The answer is no. In fact, you are better at your responsibilities when you don't check immediately. You are a better employee, a better partner, and a better friend when you are grounded. When you enter the day with a mind that is steady, rather than a mind that is scattered. The source material uses a powerful metaphor. The morning is the rudder of the day. If the rudder is set to chaos in the first hour, the ship will sail into a storm. If the rudder is set to calm, the ship can navigate even rough waters with stability. You cannot control the ocean. You cannot control what happens at work or in the news, but you can control the rudder. You can control the state of mind you bring to the problems. This is where the neuro reset comes in. The promise here isn't that we are going to fix your entire schedule instantly or turn you into a robot who wakes up at 3 a.m. We aren't doing that. We are rewriting your operating system by changing the very first decision you make. Chapter 4 calls this the first decision. Most people don't realize they are making a decision. They think waking up is just something that happens to them. But the moment you regain consciousness, you are faced with a choice. You can choose yourself, or you can choose the world. When you reach for the phone, you are choosing the world. You are saying, my attention belongs to everyone else. My peace is less important than this notification. What if you chose yourself? What if, for just the first 20 minutes, you decided to keep the world out? What if you allowed your brain to transition from the theta waves of sleep into the beta waves of alertness naturally, without the shock of digital adrenaline? The result, according to the source, is that you reclaim your first hour. And when you own the first hour, you own the day. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a physiological reality. When you start the day with ownership, you spike your dopamine in a healthy way, through achievement and control, not through passive consumption. You tell your brain, I am in charge here. That feeling of control is the antidote to the NPC feeling. The reason you feel like a non-player character is because you are following a script you didn't write. The moment you push the phone away and take a deep breath, you are going off script. You are improvising. You are playing the game. But we have to go deeper than just the morning, because the text reveals a hidden truth that most people miss. Your morning actually begins the night before. You cannot have a peaceful morning if you have a chaotic night. This is the other half of the doom loop. You get to the end of the day and you are fried. You are physically tired, but your brain is wired. You have been overstimulated for 16 hours straight. So what do? You revenge scroll. You stay up late watching mindless content because you feel like you didn't get any time for yourself during the day. You are trying to reclaim your freedom, but you are doing it in a way that sabotages your tomorrow. You go to bed with your mind full of noise. You replay conversations. You worry about tasks you didn't finish. You consume more information right up until your eyes close. This means your brain never gets a proper shutdown sequence. It crashes. It passes out from exhaustion, but it doesn't truly rest. It spends the whole night trying to process the data overload. So when you wake up, you aren't waking up fresh. You are waking up with emotional residue. You are waking up with the hangover of yesterday's stress. The glass of water is already half empty because it leaked out all night long. To break the doom loop, we have to look at the night as a landing strip. You can't just dive bomb a plane onto the runway at full speed. You have to descend. You have to slow down. The source material emphasizes the need for evening discipline. And this is a gentle discipline. It's not about rigid rules. It's about softness. It's about giving your mind permission to close the tabs. Think of your brain like a browser with 50 tabs open. If you just slam the laptop shut without closing them, the fan keeps running. The battery keeps draining. That is you sleeping with a busy mind. You need to close the tabs one by one. This is why the strategy is rule your mornings, quiet your nights. You cannot have one without the other. If you want to wake up with that fire, that clarity, that sense of being the main character, you have to protect your energy at both ends of the day. You have to guard the gates. The gate of the morning is where you decide who you're going to be. The gate of the night is where you release who you were. If you don't release the day, you carry it. And that weight is heavy. It accumulates day after day, year after year, until you wake up one day and you don't even recognize yourself because you are buried under a mountain of unreleased stress and borrowed thoughts. We are talking about a fundamental shift in how you view your time. We treat our mornings as disposable. We treat them as just the annoying hurdles we have to jump over to get to work. But the text argues that the morning is the command center. It is the headquarters. If the headquarters is on fire, the troops on the ground don't stand a chance. You might be thinking, this sounds great, but I'm not a morning person. The source material addresses this directly. It says that feeling ready is a mood, but beginning is a decision. You don't have to feel like a morning person to rule your morning. You don't have to wake up singing with the birds.
You just have to wake up and make one conscious choice that isn't a reaction. That is the secret. It is not about joy, it is about intention. It is about the discipline of beginning before you feel ready. The resistance you feel, that heavy, glue-like feeling that wants to keep you in bed or make you grab the phone, that is just your brain seeking comfort. It is the primitive part of you that wants to stay safe and conserve energy. But you have a higher part of you, the part that wants to build something, the part that wants to be proud of the day. The battle is between those two selves, and the battleground is the first 10 minutes of the day. If you let the primitive brain win, you grab the phone, you seek the dopamine, and you lose the rudder. If you let the higher self win, you embrace the silence. Silence is a huge theme here. We are terrified of silence. We fill every second with podcasts, music, TV, conversation. Why? Because in the silence, we have to face ourselves. We have to hear our own thoughts. And sometimes those thoughts are uncomfortable. They are worries, they are fears, they are truths we are avoiding. So we drown them out with noise. But the text says that silence is where your strength is generated. Silence becomes your strength. When you can sit in the quiet of the morning without reaching for a distraction, you are training your brain to be resilient. You are teaching yourself that you can handle your own thoughts.
You are becoming unshakable. Imagine starting your day not with the noise of the world, but with the quiet power of your own presence. Imagine if the first voice you heard in the morning was your own. Not a news anchor, not an influencer, not your boss. You. This is the pattern interrupt we are aiming for. The next time the alarm goes off and you feel that urge to check in with the matrix, stop. Visualize the wet cement. Visualize the glass of water. Ask yourself, do I want to poke a hole in my energy right now? Do I want someone else to write on my wet cement? If the answer is no, then you do the hardest thing in the world. You do nothing. You just lay there for a moment. You breathe. You let your brain come online slowly. You let your thoughts settle. You maybe drink some water. You stretch. You look at the light coming in the window. It sounds so simple, almost too simple. But in a world designed to distract you, these simple acts are revolutionary. They are acts of rebellion. You are rebelling against the algorithm that wants to form your attention. You are rebelling against the culture of burnout. You are reclaiming the only thing you truly own, your mind. The doom loop depends on your automatic compliance. It relies on you being a zombie. It relies on you not asking questions. The moment you pause, the moment you hesitate before unlocking that screen, you break the loop.
You create a glitch in their system, but you fix the glitch in yours. And here is the beautiful part. When you start to rule your morning, the day changes. Not because the problems disappear. The boss is still annoying, the commute is still long, the bills are still due. But you are different. You are facing those things with a full tank of gas. You are facing them with a rudder that is held firm by your own hands. You are not reactive. You are responsive. There is a massive difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is instinctual, emotional, and usually regrettable. A response is chosen, measured, and powerful. The person who checks their phone in bed is training themselves to react. The person who guards their morning is training themselves to respond. And what about the night? The night is for release. The source material talks about releasing the weight you carry. You have to visualize yourself putting down the backpack. You have been carrying the rocks of the day, the arguments, the failures, the stress. If you take that backpack into bed with you, of course you can't sleep. Of course you wake up tired. You've been hiking all night in your dreams. You have to set it down. You have to tell yourself, this day is done. I have done what I could. I am releasing the rest. It is a mental closing of the shop. You turn off the lights, you lock the door, and you go home.
When you combine these two strategies, the intentional start and the peaceful close, you create a fortress around your life. You create a boundary that the chaos cannot cross. This is how you go from feeling like an NPC to feeling like the main character. The main character has agency. The main character has a mission. The main character has an inner life that is richer than their outer life. So the diagnosis is clear. You are not lazy, you are not broken. You are just stuck in a loop of biological and digital reaction. You are leaking energy because your boundaries are full of holes, and you are exhausted because you never actually put down the weight of the world. The prescription is simple, but it requires courage. It requires the courage to be bored for 5 minutes. It requires the courage to miss out on the latest tweet. It requires the courage to be alone with your own mind. But the reward? The reward is your life back. The reward is waking up and actually feeling awake. The reward is getting to the end of the day and feeling like you lived it rather than just survived it. We are going to dive deep into the specific tools for this. We are going to look at exactly how to structure that first hour and exactly how to build a night routine that acts as a tranquilizer for your soul. But it all starts with understanding the mechanism. It starts with seeing the doom loop for what it is. It is a trap, and you have the key to unlock it.
The key is in your hand right now. Or rather, the key is realizing that you don't need to have the device in your hand right now. Think about the most disciplined, successful, calm person you know. Do you think they start their day by doom scrolling? Do you think they end their day by frying their retinas with blue light? No, they treat their attention like gold. They protect it. They invest it wisely. You have that same gold. You have just been throwing it in the trash every morning. Today, we stop doing that. Today, we start treating your energy like the precious resource it is. The source material says, you don't need a new life, you need a new morning. That is the most hopeful thing you will hear today. You don't need to quit your job or move to a cabin in the woods to find peace. You can find peace right here in the middle of the chaos by creating a sanctuary in the first and last hours of your day. This is about physics, momentum versus friction. When you wake up and scroll, you are adding massive friction to your mental gears. You are pouring sand in the engine. When you wake up and breathe, you are adding oil. You are making the machine run smooth. So let's get practical. What does this actually look like? It looks like putting your phone in another room. It looks like buying a real alarm clock. It looks like sitting on the edge of your bed for 60 seconds and just feeling your feet on the floor, grounding yourself, anchoring yourself.
It looks like deciding the night before what your first action will be. Not a big action, just, I will drink a glass of water. That's it. That is a promise you keep to yourself. And when you keep that promise, you build self-trust. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. You stop feeling like a fraud because you are doing what you said you would do. And at night, it looks like a ritual, a signal to your body that the war is over. Maybe it's dimming the lights. Maybe it's reading a physical book. Maybe it's just washing your face with intention, washing away the grime of the day. These aren't just hygiene tasks, they are psychological triggers. They tell the primitive brain, we are safe, we can power down. If you can master these two bookends of the day, the rise and the rest, the middle of the day takes care of itself. You will handle the stress better. You will handle the people better because you are coming from a place of fullness, not scarcity. You have been operating in a deficit. You have been overdrawing your energetic bank account every single morning. It is time to make a deposit. It is time to get back in the black. This is the path out of the doom loop. It is not a path of adding more things to your to-do list. It is a path of subtraction. Subtracting the noise, subtracting the distraction, subtracting the borrowed thoughts. When you strip all of that away, what is left? You are. And that version of you, the one that isn't reacting, the one that isn't scrolling, the one that isn't scared of silence, that version of you is capable of things you can't even imagine right now. The text asks you a question. Who is in control of your morning? If the answer is the world, then you have your answer for why you are unhappy. But if you can change that answer to me, then you change everything. It is a battle. Make no mistake. The world wants your attention. It is fighting for it with billion-dollar algorithms and armies of psychologists designed to keep you clicking. But you have something they don't have. You have the power of choice. You can choose to look away. You can choose to engage with the real world instead of the digital one. The doom loop is strong, but it is brittle. It relies on momentum. Once you stop the wheel, it loses its power. One morning of silence can break a year of noise. One night of true rest can heal a week of stress. You are standing at the gate of the morning. Tomorrow when you wake up, you have a decision to make. Will you open the gate and let the barbarians storm in? Or will you keep the gate closed until you are ready to face them on your own terms? The choice is yours, and that choice is the only thing standing between you and the life you want. You don't need to be a superhero, you just need to be the gatekeeper. So let's talk about the specific tools you need to guard that gate. Let's talk about how to structure the silence so it doesn't feel scary. Let's talk about how to create a night routine that you actually look forward to. Because once you taste the power of a ruled morning and a quiet night, you will never want to go back to the loop. You will realize that the NPC feeling was just a symptom of a hijacked mind, and now you are taking the controls back. Let's be real for a second. You know exactly how it starts. You open your eyes, the room is dark, the sheets are warm. You are in that strange, fuzzy space between the dream you just had and the reality of the day ahead. And before you even take a single conscious breath, before you even stretch your legs or check in with how your body feels, your hand moves. It's almost like a reflex test. It slides under the pillow or reaches over to the nightstand, and you grab that glowing rectangle. You unlock it. The blue light hits your retinas like a flashbang, and instantly you are gone. You are scrolling. You are checking notifications. You are looking at an email from your boss, a text from an ex, a news headline about the economy collapsing, or a video of someone living a life that looks way better than yours. You haven't even stood up yet, and you have already let the entire world into your bedroom. You have invited the chaos of a billion people into the sanctuary of your mind before you've even brushed your teeth. This is not just about habit. This is a physiological and psychological disaster, And if we are going to be honest with ourselves, this is the reason you feel tired at 11 a.m. This is the reason you feel anxious for no reason by lunchtime. This is the reason you feel like you are constantly playing catch-up, running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. You are starting your day in a deficit. You are starting your day by drinking from a fire hose of information that you didn't ask for and that you aren't ready to process. We need to talk about the concept of the firewall. In computer security, a firewall is a system designed to prevent unauthorized access to a private network. It filters traffic. It decides what gets in and what stays out. Right now, your mind, your private network, has no firewall. You are running on an open connection, and every piece of malware, spam, and noise is flooding your system the second you boot up. We are going to build that firewall today. We are going to construct a 60-minute buffer zone around your morning. This isn't about becoming a monk. This isn't about waking up at 4 a.m. to take an ice bath while chanting affirmations. I'm not interested in guru fluff. I'm interested in control. I'm interested in neuroassociation. I'm interested in hacking your dopamine so that the hardest things you need to do today feel easy, and the distractions that usually derail you lose their power. To understand why this is non-negotiable, we have to look at the biology of your brain. This isn't just about willpower, it's about brain waves. When you first wake up, your brain is transitioning out of delta waves, which is deep restorative sleep, and moving into theta waves. This is a very specific, very fragile state. Theta state is often described as a dreamlike state. It's where creativity lives. It's where deep emotional processing happens. But most importantly, it is a state of extreme malleability. Think of your brain in theta state like wet cement. You know when you pour a fresh sidewalk and the concrete is smooth and perfect, but it's soft? Anything that touches it leaves a permanent impression. If a leaf falls on it, the shape of the leaf is there forever. If a dog walks across it, those paw prints are locked in. When you wake up, your mind is that wet cement. For the first 20 to 30 minutes of your day, you are highly suggestible. You are impressionable. Your subconscious mind is wide open, without the filters of logic and reason that you have later in the day. Now think about what happens when you look at your phone in that state. You see a stressful email? Paw print in the cement. You see a political argument on Twitter? Paw print. You see a perfectly curated photo on Instagram that makes you feel inadequate? Paw print. You are taking that wet cement, that precious, malleable foundation of your day, and you are letting the world stomp all over it. By the time you actually get out of bed, the cement has hardened, and it has hardened into a shape of anxiety, reaction, and stress. You have essentially hypnotized yourself with anxiety. You have primed your nervous system to be reactive before you've even faced a single real-world challenge. You are starting the day with what I call borrowed thoughts. Those fears you feel, they aren't yours. That anger, it's not yours. That urgency, it belongs to someone else. But because you consumed it in theta state, it feels like it's yours. The goal of the 60-minute firewall is to protect that wet cement until it dries. It's to keep the dog off the sidewalk until you have decided what kind of surface you want to walk on. It's about ensuring that the first thoughts you have are your thoughts. The first emotions you feel are your emotions. The first direction you pick is your direction. This leads us to the most critical concept of the morning, the first decision. Every single morning, usually without you even noticing it, an invisible battle takes place. It happens in the silence of your room. It's the battle between momentum and distraction. Imagine a fork in the road. One path goes downhill. It's smooth, it's paved. You can ride a bike down it without pedaling. The wind is in your hair. It's easy. This is the path of momentum. The other path goes uphill. It's steep. It's covered in rocks and mud. You have to fight for every step. Your lungs burn. Your legs shake. This is the path of resistance. Here is the secret that successful people know and most people miss. The decision of which path you take is made in the first 60 minutes. If you win the morning, if you protect that hour, if you establish control, the rest of the day becomes the downhill path. Your discipline carries you. Your focus flows naturally. When a problem comes up at 2 p.m., you handle it with a clear head because you built a foundation of calm. you are playing the game on easy mode. But if you lose the morning, if you give in to distraction, if you spike your cortisol with that phone, if you let the world rush you, you are choosing the uphill path. The rest of the day becomes a fight. You are constantly trying to recover. You are trying to find focus in a scattered mind. You are trying to find calm in a nervous system that is already redlining. You spend 12 hours fighting against the current because you missed the window to set the sail. Distraction is sneaky. It doesn't look like a monster. It looks like just checking the weather. It looks like just replying to this one text so I don't forget. But distraction is a thief. It steals your momentum before it can even spark. It breaks the flow state before you even enter it. We need to understand that momentum is an energy. It's a resource. Think of your energy like a full glass of water sitting on your nightstand when you wake up. This is your fuel for decision-making, for patience, for creativity, for discipline. Every time you engage with a distraction in that first hour, you poke a hole in the bottom of the glass. Checking social media? Poke. Reading the news? Poke. Worrying about a task you can't do yet? Poke. By the time you sit down to do your actual work or engage with your family, the glass is half empty. You aren't tired because you didn't sleep enough. You are tired because you let your energy leak out all over the floor before the day even began. So how do we fix this? How do we build this firewall? The mistake most people make is they try to build a routine that is too complicated. They watch a video of a billionaire who has a 20-step morning routine involving infrared saunas and journal writing and green juice and yoga and reading philosophy, and they try to copy it. And they fail by day 3 because it's unsustainable. You don't need a complex routine. You need an anchor. An anchor is simple. It is heavy. It holds the ship in place even when the storm is raging. We are going to replace the complexity with 1 or 2 non-negotiable rituals that anchor your biology and your psychology. The most powerful anchor you can use is the silence and sunlight protocol. Let's start with silence. In our modern world, silence is terrifying. We run from it. We fill every gap with podcasts, music, or chatter because being alone with our own thoughts feels uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where the growth is. That silence is where your power lives. When you wake up, instead of grabbing the phone, I want you to sit on the edge of your bed, and I want you to do absolutely nothing. Just sit there for 2 minutes, maybe 5. In that silence, you are going to hear things. You might hear anxiety. You might hear a to-do list screaming at you. You might hear doubt. That's okay. Let them scream. Don't fight them. Just observe them. By sitting in silence, you are teaching your nervous system that you are safe. You are telling your brain, I am in control here. The world does not dictate my pace. I dictate my pace. This silence allows the dust to settle. It allows the wet cement to smooth out. It resets your baseline from reactive to responsive. You are cleaning the territory of your mind before the invaders arrive. Then we add sunlight, or at least connection to the physical world. After your silence, you stand up. You walk to a window. You open it. I don't care if it's cold. I don't care if it's raining. Open the window. Feel the air on your skin. Look at the sky. Look at a tree. Look at the light. Biologically, looking at natural light within the first hour of waking triggers a release of cortisol, the good kind, the kind that wakes you up and sets your circadian rhythm. And it starts the timer for melatonin release later that night so you can sleep. But psychologically, it does something even more important. It connects you to reality. The world on your phone is a simulation. It's a curated, edited, algorithmically manipulated funhouse mirror. The world outside your window is real. The wind is real. The light is real. When you anchor yourself in physical reality first, the digital world loses its grip on you.
You realize that you are a biological organism living on a planet, not just a user ID floating in a cloud. This is the anchor ritual. Silence to reclaim your mind, sunlight to reclaim your body. It takes 10 minutes, but it changes the trajectory of the next 10 hours. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but I lack self-control. I reach for the phone unconsciously. I get it. The dopamine loop is strong. These apps are engineered by some of the smartest people on the planet to keep you hooked. You are fighting a supercomputer with a caveman brain.
So we need to use a tactic that doesn't rely on willpower. We need to use environment design. We call this the phone jail. It is a simple rule, but it is the hardest one to follow. Your phone does not sleep in your bedroom. Buy an alarm clock, a cheap, old-school, annoying alarm clock. Put it across the room so you have to stand up to turn it off. Take your phone charger and plug it into an outlet in the kitchen or the living room or the hallway, anywhere but the bedroom. When you go to bed at night, you put the phone in jail. You plug it in and you walk away. Here is why this is effective. Friction. Humans are lazy. We take the path of least resistance. If the phone is on the nightstand, the path of least resistance is to pick it up. If the phone is in the kitchen, you have to physically get out of bed, walk down the hall, and stand there to check it.
That tiny bit of friction gives your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that makes good decisions, enough time to kick in. It gives you a moment to ask, do I really want to flood my brain with noise right now? Or do I want to drink a glass of water first? But there is a deeper psychological benefit to the phone jail. It forces physical movement before digital consumption. When you wake up and the phone isn't there, you are forced to engage with your environment. You have to walk. You have to see your home. You have to encounter the silence. You are reclaiming the physical space of your life. This creates a buffer zone. It forces you to exist as a human being before you exist as a data point. The first few days you do this, you will feel withdrawal. I'm serious. You will feel a phantom itch. You will feel bored. You might even feel panic. What if there's an emergency? What if I missed something? Let's be honest. If there is a true emergency, someone will call you twice, or call your landline if you have one, or bang on your door. 99.9% of the notifications you are afraid of missing are completely irrelevant to your immediate survival. Push through that withdrawal. That boredom you feel, that is your brain healing. That is your dopamine receptors resetting. That is the feeling of your attention span growing back. If you can win this battle, the battle of the phone jail, you win the first decision. You choose momentum. Think about the difference in how you enter the day. Scenario A, you wake up, scroll for 30 minutes. You see a terrifying news story. You see an email from a client who is angry. You see your friends having fun without you. You drag yourself out of bed feeling heavy, anxious, and behind schedule. You rush to get ready, your mind racing with thoughts that aren't yours. You are already in fight or flight mode. Scenario B, you wake up. The room is quiet. You turn off the alarm. You sit for 2 minutes and just breathe. You hear the hum of the refrigerator. You hear a car drive by outside. You feel your own chest rise and fall. You walk to the kitchen. You drink a glass of water. You open the window and feel the cold air. You stretch your arms. Your mind is clear. Your energy is a full glass. You decide what you want to achieve today. Then and only then do you walk over to the phone and engage with the world on your terms. In scenario B, you are the general on the hill, surveying the battlefield before you engage. In scenario A, you are the soldier in the trench, getting shelled before you even put your boots on. The 60-minute firewall is about establishing that command post. It's about deciding that your peace is more important than your feed. This isn't just about mornings. This is about neuroassociation. We are rewiring your brain to associate waking up with power, not panic. We are teaching your mind that the morning belongs to you, not to the algorithm. When you do this consistently, something magical happens. The downhill effect kicks in. Because you started with control, you carry that control into your work. You are less reactive to your boss. You are more present with your partner. You have more patience with your kids. Why? Because you aren't operating from a place of deficit. You aren't trying to claw back your sanity. You started with sanity. You bankrolled your peace early so you can spend it throughout the day. It's about protecting your energy from the leaks. Remember the glass of water. When you use the firewall, you seal the cracks. You keep the water in the glass. You apply that energy to the things that actually move the needle in your life. Your goals, your health, your relationships. This requires a mindset shift. You have to stop viewing the morning as just the time before work. You have to view the morning as the rudder that steers the ship. A small shift in the rudder at the beginning of the journey changes the destination by thousands of miles. The morning is the only time of day where the world hasn't made its demands yet. The boss isn't calling yet. The kids might still be asleep.
The emails aren't flying as fast. It is the only time that is truly yours to claim. If you give it away, if you donate that time to Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or the 24-hour news cycle, you are giving away your only advantage. Don't let them have it. It's your time. It's your mind. The first decision creates a ripple effect. When you choose momentum over distraction, you are casting a vote for the person you want to be. You are proving to yourself that you have discipline, and self-trust is built on these small promises kept. When you walk past your phone to drink water, you are telling yourself, I am a disciplined person. When you sit in silence instead of scrolling, you are telling yourself, I am a person who values peace. These are identity level shifts, and identity drives behavior. If you believe you are a disciplined person, you will eat better, you will work harder, you will train harder. It all starts with that one silent decision in the dark at 6 a.m. But let's talk about the internal noise for a moment. The source of your anxiety isn't always the phone. Sometimes the phone is just the numbing agent for the noise inside. You wake up and your brain immediately floods with leftover stress from yesterday or anticipatory anxiety about today. This is why the anchor ritual is so vital. When you sit in that silence, you are doing something called metacognition. You are thinking about your thinking. You observe the stress. Oh, there is that worry about the presentation.
You observe the regret. There is that thought about the argument I had. By observing it, you separate yourself from it. You realize you are the sky, and those thoughts are just clouds passing through. The phone prevents the separation. The phone forces you to become the cloud. The phone merges you with the noise. The firewall gives you the space to step back and say, I see the stress, but I am not the stress. This is emotional hygiene. You brush your teeth to get the plaque off. You need to use silence to get the emotional residue off your brain. If you don't, that residue builds up. It calcifies. It turns into burnout. The 60-minute firewall is your shield. It is your sanctuary. And listen, you don't have to be perfect. There will be days where you slip. There will be days where you grab the phone. Don't beat yourself up. Just notice it. Notice how scattered you feel. Notice how much harder the day feels. Use that data. Let the pain of a bad morning motivate you to build the wall higher tomorrow. But start tomorrow. Actually, start tonight, because as we know, the morning begins the night before. But for the sake of this protocol, start by moving the charger, right now. Go unplug it from your bedroom wall and put it in the kitchen. Make that physical commitment. Then, tomorrow morning when you wake up, remember the wet cement. Remember the paw prints. Protect the pavement. Give yourself the gift of a slow start. Give yourself the dignity of your own thoughts. Rule your morning. Don't let the morning rule you, because the person who controls the first hour controls the direction of the day, and the person who controls the day ultimately controls their life. Don't settle for a life of reaction. Choose a life of intention. It starts with the first 60 minutes. The firewall is up. The choice is yours. Which path are you going to take? The easy downhill ride of momentum, or the rocky uphill slog of distraction? The phone will be there in an hour. The news will be there. The likes will be there. But this moment, this quiet, potent, malleable moment of waking up, this is fleeting. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. Use it. Hack your dopamine by starving the distraction and feeding the focus. This is how you win. Not by doing more, but by allowing less in. Silence, sunlight, movement. Welcome to your new morning. Welcome to the downhill day. You think your problem is the glowing rectangle in your hand. You've been told 1,000 times that if you just stop doom scrolling the second you open your eyes, your entire life will magically align. You hear the advice, you buy the alarm clock that doesn't require a phone, you put the device in the other room, and yet you still wake up feeling heavy. You still wake up feeling like you are already behind, already losing, already drained before your feet hit the floor. That is because the phone is just the symptom. The real villain in your morning story is much quieter, much more insidious, and it is living inside your own head. We need to talk about the internal saboteur. We need to talk about the noise that screams in silence. Most people completely misunderstand what distraction actually is. You look at a notification from Instagram or a text message from your boss as the enemy. You label these as external distractions. And sure, they are annoying. They fracture your attention. But they are visible. You can see them. You can turn them off. You can throw them in a drawer. The reason you are exhausted isn't because of what is happening outside of you. It is because of what is happening inside of you. This is the concept of internal noise. And until you learn to mute it, no amount of life hacks or productivity apps will save you. Internal noise is the clutter that wakes up with you. It is the mental residue of yesterday that you never washed off.
It is the anticipatory anxiety of a future that hasn't happened yet. It is the internal narration that starts playing the moment your consciousness comes online, telling you that you are tired, that you are overwhelmed, and that today is going to be a struggle. Let's break down exactly what this noise consists of, because you cannot kill an enemy you cannot name. The source of your morning fatigue is usually a cocktail of 4 specific types of internal interference. First, you have leftover stress. This is the argument you didn't finish yesterday. This is the project you didn't complete. Your brain, while you were sleeping, was supposed to reset, but because you didn't close the tabs in your mind properly the night before, your brain has been running these scenarios in the background all night long. You wake up physically awake, but mentally in the middle of a marathon you didn't agree to run. Second, you have anticipatory anxiety. This is your mind jumping into the future. You are lying in bed, it is 6:30 a.m., and you are perfectly safe, but your mind is already at the 9 a.m. meeting. Your mind is already having the difficult conversation with your partner. Your body reacts to this visualization by flooding your system with cortisol. You are stressing about events that exist only in your imagination, burning precious energy on a timeline that hasn't started yet. The third frequency of this noise is comparison. This is the silent killer of joy.
Even without looking at a phone, your brain can default to measuring your current state against where you should be. You wake up and immediately feel a gap between your reality and your expectation. You feel old, you feel broke, you feel behind. This isn't a thought, it's a feeling that weighs 1,000 pounds. And finally, there is emotional residue. This is the unprocessed feeling from the past, the guilt, the doubt, the frustration that settles in the quiet moments. When you wake up before the world rushes in, there is a moment of silence. Most people are terrified of this silence because that is when the residue floats to the surface. So what do? You reach for the phone, not because you care about the news, but because you need to drown out the internal saboteur. You use external noise to silence internal noise, and that is why you are tired. You are fighting a war on 2 fronts. We need to look at your brain like a computer to understand why this is destroying your cognitive function. Imagine your laptop. You know it happens when you leave 50 applications running in the background, don't you? You have Chrome with 30 tabs open, you have Photoshop trying to load, you have Spotify playing, and you're trying to edit a 4K video all at once. What happens to the machine? The fan spins up, the heat rises, the cursor starts to lag. You click on something and 3 seconds later it responds. We call this a RAM issue.
The random access memory is full. Your brain operates on the exact same principle. You have a finite amount of mental RAM available to you every single morning. This energy is the fuel for your willpower, your decision-making, your patience, and your focus. When you wake up and immediately engage with internal noise, when you let the anxiety about the future and the regret about the past run as background applications, you are eating up 80% of your RAM before you have even brushed your teeth. You think you are lazy because you can't focus on your work at 10 a.m. You are not lazy. You are buffering. Your operating system is overwhelmed. You are trying to run high-performance tasks on a system that is choked with bloatware. The saboteur keeps these ops running. It whispers, "Don't forget to worry about that bill," or "Replay that awkward thing you said 5 years ago." This is energy leakage. You are leaking power from the moment you wake up. The most successful people, the ones who seem to glide through the day with terrifying efficiency, do not have more energy than you. They just have better task managers. They close the tabs. They refuse to let the background noise consume their primary processing power. So how do we fix this? How do we reboot the system when the spinning wheel of death is already on the screen? You have to understand that you cannot think your way out of this. You cannot analyze your way into peace.
You have to act your way into it. This brings us to the most critical tactical shift you will ever make, the discipline of beginning before you are ready. This is the hack that bypasses the saboteur. Here is the trap you fall into every single morning. You wake up, you feel the resistance, you feel the grogginess, and you say to yourself, I need to feel awake before I get up. You lie there waiting for motivation to strike like a lightning bolt. You are waiting for the feeling of readiness. Here is the brutal truth that high performers know and amateurs ignore. Feeling ready is a mood. Beginning is a decision. They are not related. The internal saboteur thrives in the gap between your intention and your action. That gap is where the excuses live. That gap is where the 5 more minutes lie is born. Your brain is wired for survival, which means it is wired for comfort. It wants to conserve energy. It loves the warm bed. It loves the horizontal position. When you wait to feel like working out or wait to feel like writing that email, you are negotiating with a biological system designed to keep you sedentary. You will lose that negotiation 9 times out of 10. The saboteur is a master debater. It will give you logical, rational reasons to stay in bed. You worked hard yesterday. You didn't sleep well. It's cold outside. It sounds like kindness, but it is sabotage. The solution is to sever the link between your feelings and your actions.
You must learn to move your body while your mind is still complaining. You have to treat your body like a separate entity from your complaining brain. Your brain says, I'm tired, but your legs can still swing over the side of the bed. Your brain says, I don't want to, but your hand can still turn the handle of the shower. This is the secret. Motion creates clarity. You do not get clarity and then move. You move and the fog lifts. The act of standing up changes your physiology. It shifts your blood pressure. It signals to your nervous system that the rest phase is over and the hunt has begun. You have to be willing to be a robot for the first 10 minutes of the day. Don't think, don't feel, just execute the program. The discipline is not in the workout itself. The discipline is in the 3 seconds where you decide to stand up despite every cell in your body screaming no. Once you are moving, you need to leverage the biology of your brain against the saboteur. You need to understand momentum stocking. The saboteur wants you to look at the day as a giant, terrifying mountain of obligations. It wants you to see the 500 emails, the messy house, the deadlines. It wants to paralyze you with the scale of the problem. You defeat this by shrinking your world down to the next 30 seconds. You need a win, you need a hit of dopamine, and you need it fast. But you don't get dopamine from scrolling, you get cheap, toxic dopamine from that.
You need the dopamine of accomplishment. This is why the military, why monks, why high-level CEOs talk about making the bed. It has nothing to do with keeping your sheets tidy. It is a psychological weapon. When you make your bed, you are completing a task. It is a closed loop. You had an intention, you took an action, and you saw a result. That process releases a tiny hit of dopamine. That is your first victory. The saboteur hates this. The saboteur wants you to fail the first test of the day so it can say, see, you're useless. When you make the bed, you stack 1 unit of momentum. Now you have fuel. You use that fuel to drink a glass of water. Boom, second victory, 2 units of momentum. Now you have enough fuel to open the window or put on your running shoes. This is the physics of the mind. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. A body at rest tends to stay at rest. The saboteur wants you at rest because that is where it can whisper its poison. Momentum is the antidote. You are building an internal rhythm. You are stacking small, undeniable proofs that you are in control. When you start the day with 3 small wins, bed made, water drunk, body moved, you step into the world with a winner effect chemical profile. Your testosterone is slightly higher, your cortisol is slightly lower, and your confidence is activated. You are no longer reacting to the day, you are dictating the pace.
You have taken the pen out of the saboteur's hand, and you are writing the story. But let's go deeper into the psychology of the first hour. We talked about how the brain is like wet cement in the morning. This is a metaphor, but it is also biologically accurate.
Upon waking, your brain waves are slower. You are transitioning from theta to alpha to beta waves. In this state, your subconscious mind is wide open. It is hypersensitive. If you drop a heavy, negative thought into this wet cement, it hardens and sets for the next 12 hours. If the first thing you consume is a news headline about a disaster or a text from a stressful ex, you have imprinted danger into the cement. You will carry that low-level anxiety all day, wondering why you feel on edge. Owning the first hour isn't about having a complex 2-hour routine where you journal for 40 minutes and take an ice bath. That's great if you can do it, but for most people, that's just another form of pressure. Owning the first hour means protecting the cement while it dries. It means you are the bouncer at the door of your mind. You do not let the uninvited guests, the stress, the news, the demands, into the club until you say so. You create a sanctuary, even if it is just 10 minutes. 10 minutes where the world does not exist. 10 minutes where you are not a customized employee, you are not a parent, you are not a partner.
You are just you, breathing, existing, setting the coordinates for the ship before you leave the harbor. The saboteur will try to rush you. This is one of its favorite tricks. It will induce a false sense of urgency. You wake up and immediately feel like you are late, even if you are early. Hurry up, check the email. What if something blew up? This is the fast thoughts trap. Fast thoughts are almost always fear-based. Fear moves fast because it thinks a tiger is chasing you. But there is no tiger. There is just a Tuesday. You must consciously slow down the tempo of your thoughts. You have to catch that racing mind and say, slow down, we are not rushing. You can physically induce this mental braking by controlling your actions. Drink your water slowly. Walk to the bathroom slowly. Breathe deeper than you need to. When you slow your body, your mind is forced to downshift. You are signaling to your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, that you are safe. When the amygdala calms down, the prefrontal cortex, the logic center, wakes up. That is where your genius lives. That is where your best work comes from. You cannot access your genius if you are in survival mode. The saboteur wants you in survival mode because that keeps you reactive. It keeps you clicking, scrolling, and buying things you don't need to soothe anxiety you shouldn't have. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. You can do all of this. You can wake up, ignore the phone, move your body, but if you went to bed with a chaotic mind, you are fighting a losing battle. The audiobook makes a profound point. Your morning begins the night before. You cannot treat your brain like a light switch that you just flip off at 11 p.m. after staring at blue light for 4 hours. It doesn't work that way. If you end your night with noise, you will start your morning with static. This is where the concept of cognitive closure comes in. Most people go to bed with open loops. An open loop is an unfinished task or an unresolved emotion. The brain hates open loops. It will chew on them all night. This is why you dream about work. This is why you wake up grinding your teeth. You need a ritual that tells your brain the workday is done. We are closing the shop. This doesn't have to be spiritual. It can be mechanical. Write down the 3 things that are bothering you. Get them out of your head and onto paper. Paper has a memory. Your brain needs to clear its RAM. Once it is written down, your brain can let go of the responsibility of remembering it. That is a closed loop. Release the weight you carry. The saboteur loves to carry yesterday's luggage into today's journey. It loves to remind you of the mistake you made at 4 p.m. yesterday while you are trying to drink your coffee at 7 a.m. today. You have to consciously release it. Acknowledge the day is over. You did what you could. You cannot fix yesterday from tomorrow morning. The bridge is burned. Move on. When you protect your night, when you lower the lights, lower the volume, and lower the stimulation, you are preparing the soil for the morning. You are ensuring that when you wake up, your tank is full. Let's talk about the mental reset. This is a technique you can use when the saboteur manages to sneak in. Let's say you wake up and the anxiety is already there. You lost the first battle. Fine. The war isn't over. You need a hard reset. You need to interrupt the pattern. The best way to do this is a radical change of state. Cold water on the face, 30 seconds of intense jumping jacks, a loud shout, anything that shocks the system. You have to snap the hypnotic loop of the negative thought. The saboteur relies on you being passive. It relies on you lying there and taking the abuse. When you get aggressive with your state, when you physically shake off the lethargy, you break the spell. You have to realize that silence is not empty. Silence is loud. When you finally turn off the podcast, put down the phone, and sit in a quiet room, it feels deafening. That is because the truth is finally speaking. The saboteur screams because it knows that in true, grounded silence, it dies. Silence is the frequency of truth. In the silence of the morning, you remember who you actually are. You remember your goals. You remember your power. The noise, the news, the fear, that is all a distraction to keep you from your own power. So here is the challenge. Tomorrow morning, you are going to wake up and the saboteur is going to be waiting. It's going to tell you that you are too tired. It's going to tell you to just check just one email. It's going to remind you of that awkward thing you said. You are going to acknowledge it. You are going to say, I hear you. And then you are going to move anyway. You are going to begin before you are ready. You are going to stack one tiny bit of momentum. You are going to protect your RAM like it is the most valuable resource on Earth, because it is. You are not fighting the world. You are fighting the heavy, antiquated software in your own mind that is trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. But you are the admin. You have the password. You can force quit the application. The moment you stop waiting for the noise to go away and start acting through it is the moment you take your life back. The silence is yours to claim. The morning is yours to rule. Don't let the noise steal it. This process requires a level of self-awareness that is uncomfortable. You have to be willing to look at your own thoughts and realize they are not always your friends. Your mind is a tool, but if you don't control it, it controls you. The internal saboteur is really just a part of you that is afraid.
It's the part of you that is afraid of failure, so it tries to prevent you from trying. It's the part of you that is afraid of rejection, so it tells you to stay hidden. It's the part of you that is afraid of the effort required to change, so it seduces you with the comfort of stagnation. When you wake up and you feel that heaviness, that is fear wearing a mask of fatigue. Strip the mask off. Call it what it is. I am not tired. I am resistant. I am not overwhelmed. I am unorganized. I am not incapable. I am just currently inactive. Language matters. The way you talk to yourself in those first 5 minutes sets the trajectory for the next 16 hours. If you say, I'm so dead, you will be dead. If you say, I am rising, you will rise. Think about the morning mindset described in the source material. It talks about the mind being like a garden. If you don't plant flowers, weeds will grow automatically. You don't have to try to grow weeds, they just happen. Negativity is a weed. Fear is a weed. If you do not consciously plant intention in the morning, the saboteur will fill your garden with weeds. You have to get in there and pull them out by the root. How? By displacing them with action. You cannot think a negative thought and execute a complex positive action at the exact same time with full intensity. The action overrides the thought. The beauty of this strategy is that it doesn't require you to be a superhuman.
It doesn't require you to be a Navy SEAL. It just requires you to be conscious, to be awake in the true sense of the word, not just eyes open, but mind online. The vast majority of the population is walking around in a trance. They are reacting to notifications, reacting to hunger, reacting to advertising, reacting to their own trauma loops. They are NPCs in their own video game. When you apply these principles, when you clear the noise, stock momentum, and protect your energy, you become the player. You grab the controller. Remember the concept of energy leakage. Every time you engage in a mental argument with someone who isn't there, you are leaking. Every time you doom scroll through the lives of people you don't even like, you are leaking. By noon, you are empty, and you haven't even done your own work yet. Plug the leaks. The morning is the time to seal the hull of the ship. If you launch into the ocean of the day with holes in your boat, you will sink. It doesn't matter how hard you row. So the next time you wake up and the internal noise is deafening, realize that this is the battlefield. This is where the war is won or lost. Not in the boardroom, not in the gym, but on the edge of your bed in the dark. If you can win the battle against the saboteur in the first 20 minutes, the rest of the day is just a victory lap. The external world can throw whatever it wants at you. Traffic, rude customers, technical glitches. But if your internal world is ordered, if your RAM is clear, if your momentum is stacked, you will handle it. You will be bulletproof. Silence is loud, yes, but it is the sound of you finally meeting yourself. It is the sound of your potential waiting for you to stop distracting yourself long enough to pick it up. Kill the noise, rule the morning, and quietly, methodically, take over your own life.
Let's get real about what happens at 11:30 p.m. You are lying in bed. The lights are off. You know you have to be up in 7 hours. You know you're exhausted. Your eyes are burning, but your hand is still holding the phone and your thumb is still scrolling. You are watching video after video, reading thread after thread, consuming content that you won't even remember by breakfast. You tell yourself, just one more, just 5 minutes. But suddenly it's 1 a.m. and you hate yourself a little bit. You wonder why you lack the discipline to just close your eyes. You think you're broken. You think you're lazy. But I want to tell you something that might change your entire relationship with sleep. You are not lazy. You are not undisciplined. You are grieving the loss of your own time. We need to talk about the psychology of the night, specifically a phenomenon that is destroying your energy before you even wake up. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. It sounds intense, but it is actually a desperate cry for help from your own brain. Here is the reality of your day. From the moment you woke up this morning, your time did not belong to you. It belonged to your boss. It belonged to your spouse. It belonged to your kids. It belonged to the traffic. It belonged to the emails, the notifications, the obligations, and the expectations of a world that is constantly screaming for your attention.
You spent 12, maybe 14 hours operating on someone else's schedule, reacting to someone else's problems. So when you finally get into bed and the house is quiet and the demands stop, your brain makes a subconscious calculation. It says, if I go to sleep right now, I am fast forwarding instantly to tomorrow, where the cycle of servitude starts all over again. Sleeping feels like giving up the only freedom you have. So you stay up, you scroll, you watch Netflix, you engage in this revenge against the day that stole your autonomy. You are stealing back your time at the expense of your biology. You are trying to cram a sense of me time into the hours where you should be recovering. And while it feels good in the moment, it feels like rebellion, it feels like control, it is actually a trap. It is the reason you are waking up defeated. The source material we are looking at today makes a profound point that we often ignore. Your morning begins the night before. You cannot have a disciplined, high-energy morning if you have a chaotic, resentful night. When you engage in this revenge procrastination, you are not actually relaxing. You are stimulating a brain that is desperate for closure. And this leads us to the second major psychological hurdle that keeps you doom scrolling, the open loop. Think about your computer. What happens when you have 50 tabs open in your browser? The fan starts whirring, the system slows down, it freezes, it crashes.
Your brain works exactly the same way. Throughout the day, every unfinished task, every awkward conversation, every unanswered email, every vague worry about the future opens a tab in your mind. Psychologists call these open loops. The human brain is wired to fixate on unfinished business. It hates uncertainty. It views an open loop not just as a task to do, but as a potential threat. When you try to lay your head down on the pillow without closing these loops, your brain freaks out. It enters a state of hypervigilance. You might be physically tired, your body might be heavy, but your mind is racing at 100 miles an hour. Why? Because it is trying to solve the problems of the day. It is trying to close the tabs. It is replaying that argument to find a better comeback. It is listing the things you forgot to do. It is worrying about a meeting that hasn't happened yet. This is why you can't sleep. You are trying to rest, but your brain is trying to survive. The text we are analyzing explicitly states that we don't just need rest, we need closure. We need to signal to our physiology that the day is done. If you don't provide that closure consciously, your brain will seek it unconsciously. And how does it do that? Distraction. The phone becomes a pacifier. If you can flood your brain with enough dopamine, enough bright light, enough 15-second clips, you can drown out the noise of the open loops. You scroll to silence the anxiety of the unfinished.
But this is a fake peace. It's not closure, it's suppression. And sleep does not heal what you refuse to release. If you want to rule your mornings, you have to stop trying to knock yourself unconscious with exhaustion and start learning how to down-regulate your nervous system. You have to move from what the source calls hunter mode to rest mode. Let's break down the biology here, because understanding this is the key to unlocking deep sleep. For the vast majority of your waking hours, you are in the sympathetic nervous system. This is the fight or flight mode. Now, you might not be running from a saber-toothed tiger, but your body doesn't know the difference between a predator and a high-pressure deadline. When you are checking emails, driving in traffic, or handling a crisis, your body is pumping cortisol and adrenaline. Your blood pressure is up. Your focus is narrow. You are hunting. You are surviving. This is useful for getting things done, but it is toxic for sleep. The problem is that most of us stay in hunter mode right up until the moment we close our eyes. We are answering texts at 10:59 p.m. and expecting to be asleep at 11 p.m. It doesn't work that way. You cannot slam the brakes on a freight train and expect it to stop instantly. You need a transition. You need to shift into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. This is where recovery happens. This is where the body repairs itself.
This is where the brain cleans out the metabolic waste of the day. But you cannot shift into this mode if you are still feeding your brain dangerous signals. And make no mistake, the blue light from your phone, the breaking news headlines, the stress of tomorrow's to-do list, these are all danger signals. They tell your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, to stay awake, to stay alert, to keep the loops open. So how do we fix this? We need a protocol. We need a system that forces the brain to close the tabs and allows the body to feel safe enough to power down. The source material gives us a specific, actionable roadmap to achieve this. It's not about having a perfect Instagram-worthy aesthetic night routine. It's about psychological safety. The first step is dealing with the open loops. We use a tactic called the brain dump protocol. This is not just a to-do list. It is an exorcism of mental noise. The source material explains that the mind struggles at night because it is holding on to emotional residue and leftover stress. It's trying to remember everything so you don't fail tomorrow. You need to outsource that memory. You need to offload the responsibility from your neurons to a piece of paper. Here is exactly how you do it. 2 hours before you want to be asleep, you take a physical piece of paper and a pen. Do not use your phone. The phone is a portal to the world's noise. The paper is a mirror for your mind. You sit down and you write everything that is currently swimming in your head. Every task, every worry, every irritation, every random thought. You get it all out. But here is the critical part that transforms this from a list into a closure ritual. For every item you write down, you must identify the very next actionable step. If you write down, worried about the project, that's an open loop. That's anxiety. Instead, you write, worried about the project. Step 1, email Sarah for the data at 9 a.m. Boom, you have given your brain a plan. You have told your amygdala, I have handled this. You don't need to stay awake worrying about it. It is on the paper and there is a plan for the morning. This provides what the text calls psychological distance. You are separating yourself from your problems. You are acknowledging the weight of the day, honoring it, and then physically setting it aside. You are telling your mind, we are done for today. We have permission to let go. This release is essential. Remember, the text says, you cannot create calm at noon if you did not claim it at dawn. But I would argue you cannot claim it at dawn if you did not build it the night before. Once you have dumped the brain, you have to shut down the factory. This leads us to the shutdown ritual. This is where we manually switch the nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. You have to treat your environment as a signal generator.
Everything around you is telling your body what time it is and what state to be in. The first signal is light. For millions of years, the human species only saw bright blue spectrum light when the sun was high in the sky. That light triggers the release of cortisol and suppresses melatonin. It tells you to be awake and alert. When you stare at a screen at midnight, you are blasting your brain with synthetic noonday sun. You are biologically confusing your entire system. The shutdown ritual requires you to dim the lights. Switch to warm, red spectrum light if you can. Turn off the overheads. This mimics the setting sun and triggers the biological cascade of sleepiness. The second signal is stillness. The text describes the night as a transition from motion to stillness.
You need to stop the input. This is the hardest part for us in the modern world because we are addicted to input. We are terrified of silence because in silence, we hear our own thoughts. But that silence is where the strength is built. You have to cut the digital umbilical cord. No emails, no social media, no news. Instead, replace that high dopamine stimulation with low dopamine input. Read a physical book, listen to something calming, stretch, do some slow breathing. The source specifically mentions focusing on the breath to slow your internal world. When you slow your breathing, you hack your nervous system.
You send a physical signal up the vagus nerve to the brain saying, we are safe, we are calm, it is okay to power down. This isn't just about feeling cozy, it is about mental preparation. The source material makes a powerful distinction. Hope is not a strategy. You cannot just hope you'll wake up energized. You have to prepare for it. By curating the last hour of your day, you are protecting your morning energy. You are ensuring that when you open your eyes tomorrow, you aren't waking up with a social media hangover or decision fatigue from a night of doom scrolling. Let's go deeper into this concept of releasing the weight. The text says, release the weight at night and you reclaim the morning that follows. What does that actually mean? It means understanding that your energy is a finite resource. Imagine your energy is a tank of fuel. If you spend your night driving in circles, worrying, stressing, processing other people's drama online, you are burning fuel. You are waking up with the tank half empty. The person who rules their morning is the person who protected their night. It's about boundaries. It's about self-respect. When you engage in the shutdown ritual, you are setting a boundary with the world. You are saying, access to me is closed for the day. You are setting a boundary with your own mind. You are saying, we are done thinking for today. Now, let's address the skeptics.
You might be thinking, this sounds great, but I have real problems. I have real stress. Writing it down doesn't make it go away. You are right. Writing it down doesn't solve the problem in the external world. The debt is still there. The conflict is still there. But the shutdown ritual isn't about solving the external problem. It's about solving the internal reaction to the problem. It is about creating a sanctuary where the problem cannot touch you for 8 hours. The text talks about emotional separation. You need to visualize placing the day's emotions outside your bedroom door. You can pick them up again in the morning if you want. They will still be there, but you don't need to sleep with them. You don't need to cuddle with your anxiety. This is a skill. It takes practice. The first few nights you try this, your brain will rebel. It will crave the phone. It will crave the distraction. That is the withdrawal of the dopamine addiction. Push through it. Think about the most disciplined people you know, the people who seem to have it all together. The text suggests that their secret isn't that they have more willpower in the morning, it's that they have better strategy at night. They don't rely on motivation to get out of bed. They rely on the momentum they built the night before. They wake up clean. They wake up without the emotional hangover of the previous day. This brings us back to the concept of the new beginning.
If you don't close the night properly, your morning is just a continuation of yesterday's chaos. You are dragging the old baggage into the new day. But if you execute the brain dump, if you embrace the shutdown ritual, if you dim the lights and quiet the noise, you create a hard stop. You create a finish line. And that finish line allows the morning to be a true starting line. So tonight, I want you to try this. When that urge to doom scroll hits, recognize it for what it is. It's not a desire for entertainment. It's a desire for control. It's a reaction to open loops. It's a symptom of a nervous system stuck in hunter mode. Don't fight it with willpower. Fight it with a better system. Get the paper, dump the brain, close the tabs, identify the next steps. Then turn down the lights. Put the phone in another room. Seriously, buy an alarm clock, get the phone out of the bedroom, create that physical distance. Sit in the quiet. It will feel uncomfortable at first. You will feel the urge to check, to verify, to consume. Let that urge pass. Breathe through it. Remind yourself that you are safe. Remind yourself that the world will still be there tomorrow. You are moving from a life of reaction to a life of intention. You are reclaiming your time, not by staying up late to scroll, but by going to sleep early to charge.
You are trading the cheap, hollow revenge of 2 a.m. TikToks for the deep, powerful victory of a 6 a.m. sunrise, where you feel rested, clear, and ready. The source text puts it beautifully. The person who quiets their night protects the peace that keeps them moving forward. Stop letting the noise of the world follow you into your sanctuary. Shut the door, close the loops, release the weight. Because tomorrow belongs to the person who is rested enough to claim it. Consider this specifically regarding the first decision mentioned in the source material. We often think the first decision of the day is whether to hit snooze. But if we really look at the psychology, the first decision of the day is actually the last decision of the night. The decision to put the phone away, the decision to respect your own need for recovery. That decision sets the trajectory. When you doom scroll, you are essentially borrowing happiness from tomorrow. You are taking energy from your future self to pay for a moment of distraction now. And the interest rate on that loan is incredibly high. You pay for it in brain fog. You pay for it in irritability. You pay for it in a lack of focus. And then, because you are tired and unfocused, you have a bad day. And because you have a bad day, you feel like you lost your time again. And so the next night, you revenge procrastinate again. It is a cycle, a downward spiral.
The only way to break the spiral is to stop the spin at the bottom. The night is the bottom of the circle. You have to catch it there. You have to anchor yourself. The shutdown ritual is that anchor. It stops the drift. Let's look at the emotional residue concept again. Imagine your mind is like a whiteboard. All day long, people are writing on it. Problems, news, tasks, conversations. If you don't wipe that whiteboard clean at night, you wake up the next morning with no space for new ideas. You are trying to write new thoughts over old, scribbled mess. No wonder you feel overwhelmed. No wonder you can't think clearly. The brain dump is the eraser. It clears the board. It gives you a blank slate. And there is something profoundly spiritual about this, even if you aren't a spiritual person. It is an act of faith. Going to sleep is an act of trust. It is trusting that you have done enough. It is trusting that the world will spin without your supervision for a few hours. When you doom scroll, you are acting out of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of silence, fear of not being enough. When you choose to shut down properly, you are acting out of confidence. The text warns us about anticipatory anxiety, the mind jumping into the future. This is what keeps us awake. We are living through tomorrow's problems before we have even rested from today's. By writing down the plan, you kill the anticipation. You freeze the future on the page so you can live in the present. And the present moment, the one right before sleep, should be soft. It should be gentle. We are so hard on ourselves all day. We push, we grind, we hustle. The night should be the time where we are kind to ourselves. Doom scrolling is not kindness, it is numbness. There is a difference. Numbness suppresses the pain. Kindness heals it. A shutdown ritual is an act of kindness. It is saying, I value my peace more than I value this content. Think about the transition of the guard. If you run a high security building, there is a shift change. The day guard leaves and the night guard comes on duty. They have a protocol. They check the locks, they dim the lights, they debrief. You are the security guard of your own mind. But most of us just walk off the job and leave the doors wide open. We leave the lights on. And then we wonder why looters, intrusive thoughts, stress, worries, come in and trash the place while we are trying to sleep. You have to secure the perimeter. That is what the night routine is. It is securing the perimeter of your mind so that you can sleep in safety. And when you sleep in safety, you wake up in power. This is the secret that the hustle culture misses. They tell you to wake up at 4 a.m. and grind, but they don't tell you that unless you went to bed with intention, that 4 a.m. wake up is going to destroy you.
The superpower isn't the alarm clock. The superpower is the pillow. It's the ability to rest deeply. So as we wrap up this section on the night, I want you to rethink your relationship with the dark. The night is not an enemy to be conquered with a screen. It is an ally. It is the garage where the race car gets new tires and fuel. If you skip the pit stop, you lose the race. Stop looking for a new life. You don't need a new life. You just need a new night. You need to close the loops. You need to dump the brain.
You need to lower the lights. You need to release the weight. Remember the source's final philosophy. Discipline is about peace. It's not about suffering. It's about choosing the path that leads to the most peace. Doom scrolling leads to chaos. The shutdown ritual leads to peace. The choice is yours every single night. The moment your thumb hovers over that app, you are at a crossroads. One path leads to a foggy, reactive, exhausted tomorrow. The other path leads to a sharp, proactive, powerful tomorrow. Make the choice. Put the phone down. Pick the pen up. Close the day. Because the quality of your closure determines the quality of your opening. And if you want to rule your morning, you must first learn to quiet your night.
Listen closely, because we are about to draw a line in the sand. For the last few minutes, we have been deconstructing the mechanics of your mind, analyzing why you wake up exhausted and why you go to bed anxious. We have identified the enemy, and it is not your lack of motivation, it is not your lack of resources, and it is certainly not your lack of potential. The enemy is noise. The enemy is a chaotic morning that breaks your legs before you can run, and a noisy night that poisons your rest before you can dream. You have been playing the game on the hardest difficulty setting possible because you have surrendered the two most critical checkpoints of your day. You have given your mornings to the world, and you have given your nights to your worries. That ends right now. We are shifting gears. We are moving from theory into practice. We are moving from understanding the philosophy to executing the war plan. This is the 7-day neuro reset. This is not a fluffy self-care challenge where we put cucumber slices on our eyes and hope for the best. This is a blueprint for war. This is a strict, non-negotiable protocol designed to strip away the digital dopamine, silence the internal screaming, and force your brain to reset its baseline from survival mode to command mode. You are going to reclaim your emotional sovereignty. Let's define that term, because it is the aha moment you need to lock into your skull. Most people are chasing happiness. They want to wake up feeling like a Disney character, singing to the birds. That is a trap. Happiness is a mood. It is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. If you build your life on the expectation of happiness, you will collapse the moment a storm hits. We are not chasing happiness. We are chasing emotional sovereignty. Sovereignty means you are the supreme ruler of your own internal state. It means that when you wake up, you are the only person in the driver's seat of your mind. It means that the world does not get to vote on how you feel until you have cast your own ballot first. For the next 7 days, we are going into a monk mode light. This is a surgical intervention to break the cycle of waking up tired and going to bed restless. We are going to fix the bookends of your life. If you fix the beginning and the end, the middle takes care of itself. Here is the protocol for the morning phase. For the next 7 days, the first 60 minutes of your day are a no-fly zone for the outside world. This is the golden hour, the command center of your life. The rule is simple, but for 99% of you, it will feel like withdrawal. No phone, no checking email, no scrolling social media, no looking at the news, no responding to texts. For the first hour after your eyes open, your device does not exist. You need to understand the biology behind this to understand why this is non-negotiable.
When you first wake up, your brain waves are slower. You are transitioning from delta and theta waves into alpha. Your mind is in a state of high suggestibility. The source material calls this the wet cement phase. Your mind is like wet concrete in those first few minutes. Whatever lands on it creates a permanent impression that hardens as the day goes on. If the first thing you do is pick up your phone and scroll, you are letting the world walk all over your wet cement. You are seeing a news headline that makes you angry. You are seeing a text from your boss that creates stress. You are seeing an influencer living a perfect life that makes you feel inadequate. Before you have even brushed your teeth, you have imprinted stress, comparison, and urgency into the foundation of your day. You are starting your day with borrowed thoughts and borrowed emotions. You are reacting, not creating. For 7 days, you protect that cement. You keep the construction site closed. You wake up and you sit in the silence. This is where the battle is won. The source tells us that silence is not empty. It is the presence of awareness. It is going to be uncomfortable.
You will feel the itch to check, to distract, to run away from your own thoughts. Let it itch. Sit there. Breathe. Drink a glass of water slowly. Look out a window. Do anything except plug yourself into the digital matrix. By doing this, you are effectively telling your brain that you are the priority, not the notification. You are setting a rhythm of control. When you don't react to the phone, you train your brain to stop reacting to everything else. You become the person who acts, not the person who is acted upon. You are building momentum. Momentum is a real physical force in your psychology. If you win the first hour, that victory carries over. You make your bed, small win. You drink water, small win. You stretch, small win. By the time you finally look at your phone, you are doing it from a position of strength, not a position of need. You are attacking the day, not defending yourself against it. Now, let's talk about the night phase. The biggest lie you tell yourself is that your morning starts when the alarm goes off. That is false. The source material makes it crystal clear. Your morning begins the night before. You cannot have a clean, powerful start if you are dragging the garbage of yesterday into your sleep. Most of you are going to bed in a state of collapse. You run hard all day, you are overstimulated, you are stressed, and then you crash into the pillow hoping to pass out. But your body sleeps while your mind runs marathons. This is why you wake up tired. You aren't physically tired, you are emotionally exhausted. You are suffering from emotional residue. Every conversation you had, every problem you didn't solve, every worry about tomorrow, it is all sitting in your RAM, slowing down your system. If you don't clear the cache, you will crash. For the next 7 days, you are implementing the strict brain dump. This is not a diary entry. Dear diary, today was hard. No, this is tactical offloading. 1 hour before you intend to sleep, you take a piece of paper and a pen. Analog, no screens. You write down everything that is currently looping in your head. You write down the tasks you didn't finish. You write down the anxiety about the meeting tomorrow. You write down the frustration you felt in traffic. You get it out of your head and onto the paper. The psychology here is profound. Your brain is a problem-solving machine. If you give it a problem and don't solve it, it will keep chewing on it while you sleep. By writing it down, you are signaling to your brain, I have captured this. It is safe. We can deal with it tomorrow. You are closing the tabs. You know what happens to a computer when you leave 50 tabs open and try to restart it? It struggles. It overheats. That is your brain at 3 a.m. You need to close the tabs. You acknowledge the weight and then you release it. You tell yourself, the day is done. I have done what I could. I am now entering a period of rest. This is about creating a boundary, a separation between the you that works and struggles and the you that rests and recovers. Without this boundary, your days bleed into each other until life just feels like one long, gray, exhausting hallway. We are building doors. We are shutting the door on today so we can open the door to tomorrow with power. During this 7-day reset, you are going to feel resistance. The source warns us about the invisible battle between momentum and distraction. Distraction is seductive. It asks for nothing and takes everything. It is easy to scroll. It is easy to stay up late watching mindless content. It is easy to hit snooze. Momentum, on the other hand, requires a spark. It requires you to overcome that initial friction. There is a concept in the source material called beginning before you are ready. This is crucial for this week. You are going to wake up on day 3 and you are not going to feel like doing this. Your bed will be warm. Your phone will be right there. You will feel that quiet resistance whispering to you, telling you that one peek at Instagram won't hurt. That is the enemy. That is the internal noise trying to reclaim its territory. Discipline is not about feeling like doing it. Discipline is a decision, not a mood. You have to decide that you are an adult who keeps promises to themselves. If you said you were going to reset, you reset. You stand up when you don't want to. You put the phone in the other room when you want to hold it. You write down your worries when you just want to numb out. Every time you choose the difficult right over the easy wrong, you are depositing equity into your own self-respect. You are proving to yourself that you are in control. And that feeling of self-control is more addictive and more satisfying than any dopamine hit social media can give you. We are also going to confront the internal noise that steals your mornings. Chapter 5 of our source lays this out brilliantly. It's not just the external notifications, it's the internal narration, the leftover stress, the anticipatory anxiety, the comparison. When you wake up and silence the external world, you might find that the internal world gets loud. That is okay. That is actually the point. When you hear that internal noise, that voice saying you're not good enough, or you're behind, or you messed up, do not fight it. Do not argue with it. Just observe it. Treat those thoughts like clouds passing in the sky. Oh, there is a thought about my deadline. Interesting. And then let it float by. Return to your breath. Return to your coffee. Return to the present moment. This is how you lower the volume. You stop feeding the noise with your attention. You need to understand that your energy is finite. You wake up with a full tank of gas. Every decision you make, every reaction you have, burns fuel.
If you spend your first hour burning fuel on other people's lives, other people's opinions, and the world's tragedies, you are starting your actual workday on empty. This 7-day protocol is about energy protection. You are sealing the leaks in your tank. You are guarding your energy like it is the most expensive resource on the planet, because it is. Imagine a life where you wake up and you are not rushing. Imagine opening your eyes and feeling a sense of calm capabilities instead of panic. Imagine walking into your day feeling like a lion, not a gazelle. A gazelle wakes up running because it is afraid of being eaten. A lion wakes up when it wants to, moves with purpose, and commands its environment. You have been living like a gazelle, reacting, running, dodging. It is time to become the lion. This reset is also about the first decision. Chapter 4 tells us that the unconscious decision you make in the first seconds of waking determines the trajectory of the day. If you choose distraction, you choose chaos. If you choose intention, you choose control. For the next 7 days, you are making that decision conscious. You are looking at the ceiling and saying, "Today, I choose myself." And let's look at the night again. We are talking about releasing the weight. You carry so much invisible baggage. You carry the snide comment a coworker made. You carry the guilt of not calling your mother. You carry the fear of the economy. You carry it all into bed with you, and then you wonder why your chest feels tight. The evening brain dump is you setting those bags down. You are not saying they don't exist. You are saying, I am not carrying this while I sleep. Sleep is for repair. It is for flushing out the neurotoxins in your brain. It is for emotional processing. If you interrupt that with blue light and cortisol, you are aging yourself, you are weakening your immune system, and you are dulling your intelligence. The 7-day neuro reset is a physical restoration project. By day 4 or day 5, you are going to notice a shift. The mornings will feel longer, not boring, but spacious. You will realize how much time you actually have when you aren't throwing it into the void of the internet. You will notice your focus sharpening. Tasks that used to take you 3 hours might take you 1 because your brain isn't fragmented. You will notice your nights becoming peaceful. You won't dread going to bed. You will look forward to the closing of the gates. This is the payoff. The summary payoff of this entire philosophy is simple. Rule the morning to own your direction. Quiet the night to protect your peace. It is a binary system. Input and output. Start and finish. If you can master these 2 windows of time, you master your life. You stop being a leaf blowing in the wind, and you become the wind. You stop being a spectator in your own life, watching days go by, wondering where the time went. You start grabbing time by the throat and telling it where to go. But here is the catch. This information is useless if it stays in your ears. Understanding the strategy of war does not make you a soldier. Fighting the war makes you a soldier. You have the blueprint. You understand the why. You know the how. The only variable left is who. Who are you going to be tomorrow morning? Are you going to be the person who hears this, nods, and then wakes up tomorrow and grabs the phone because it's habit? Are you going to be the person who complains about being tired but refuses to turn off the Netflix at 11 p.m.? Or are you going to be the person who finally draws that line in the sand? We are looking for the people who are done. Done with the brain fog, done with the anxiety loop,
done with feeling like a passenger in a car driven by an invisible driver. We are looking for the people who are ready to take the wheel. This starts now, not next week, not on Monday. It starts with the very next time you close your eyes and the very next time you open them. If you are done being a spectator in your own life, I want you to prove it. I want you to make a public declaration of war against the noise. Go down to the comments right now and type the word reset. That is your contract.
That is you telling me, and more importantly, telling yourself that you are committing to the next 7 days of the protocol. Type reset to lock it in. And while you are there, hit that subscribe button. You need this information in your feed. You need these reminders. The algorithm is designed to distract you. We are hacking it to empower you. Make your feed a place of education, not just entertainment. We start the 7-day protocol tomorrow. Tonight, you dump the brain. You close the tabs. You release the weight. Tomorrow, you wake up and you embrace the silence. You protect the cement. You own the first hour. This is your blueprint. The war has already started. The only question is, are you fighting back? Rule your mornings, quiet your nights, and watch the rest of your life follow. Comment reset. Let's get to work.